Hi, I'm Stephanie.
I'm Seth, and this is The Forever Young Show. The most powerful force in this world is a woman who knows who she is, why she is here, and what she wants to accomplish.
And that's where self-care comes in. As a woman, it is my opportunity and my responsibility to take care of me.
Self-care for your mind.
Self-care for your body.
Self-care for your money.
Our mission is to serve women as they fulfill their irreplaceable roles in families, society, business, the fabric of humanity.
So let's get this show on the road. We are excited, babe. I'm excited. And I'm excited for everybody who's listening and watching, because this is a new beginning. And life, and you and I can say this, and we'll let everybody know why this is important to us, but life's about new beginnings. And I heard a quote recently. Goes something like this. You can say one day or day one. One day or day one. And this is day one. This is day one for us, starting something that's been on our minds for a while, super important, this podcast, because this podcast is dedicated to women. And even beyond simply sharing this, having some experiences in the interviews, we're actually starting something that we hope is much bigger than any one of us, much bigger than just a podcast or only a podcast. We're here because we think that together we can create a movement.
So like Seth said, we are to make an impact on the world, to make it a better place. And one of the most powerful ways that we can make a positive impact on our world or in our world is to serve the amazing women in this world. If you're interested in self-care, this is for you.
If you're into or interested in emotional resiliency, this is for you.
If you're into physical vitality and longevity, this is for you.
If you're into financial literacy, entrepreneurship, owning your life, this is for you.
If you're into being you, even if that's different than anybody else, if you're willing to be labeled as a rebel, this is for you.
That is you. And if you've got spunk, tenacity, and a healthy dose of sass. I'm even going to call it a holy sass. Amen. This is definitely for you.
What does that mean, Seth?
It's kind of an inside story because I was giving a sermon recently, and I was speaking in a congregation, and Stephanie happened to be there because she's incredibly supportive. Two of our daughters were with her, and I was talking about one of our daughters and how she had confidence and some sass. And I said, well, now it's a holy sass. But it's true.
Definitely. It's definitely true. I just didn't expect it over the pulpit.
That's the way we roll. So we're going to be inviting amazing women from around the world, we professionally, and really, I think in our ministry, are in contact with amazing women from all around the world. It just said, on these notes, it said, cue, get emotional. So just
on cue, honey.
Following the cues. Their stories, their experiences, their triumphs, their failures, we all have them. We're going to be interviewing. We're going to be diving into those. And they're going to be inspiration for you. They're going to be education for you. And it's going to be life-changing. And we're going to do it together as a community.
Do you know, Seth, we've been saying we're going to start this podcast for a while. We've been saying one day. We're excited to be with you because it's day one.
It is day one. Let's get it on. So keep in mind, we're going to keep this real and raw. And that means that we're not going to be perfect. Because
Amen.
We're not perfect. Amen. Stephanie's lived with me long enough to know amen to that.
Oh, I was saying it for myself.
But we're going to get emotional. We hope there's going to be a lot of crying here because that can be cathartic. It can be healing. You've taught me that. Hey man over there, it's okay to cry. We're going to be laughing a whole lot because we would not be having fun if we weren't laughing. And it wouldn't be true to Stephanie if we weren't laughing. There are probably going to be some holy sass and some downright correction because, we're imperfect people. So we're going to invite you along this journey with imperfect people who are seeking perfection. Whether we'll ever get there, certainly won't get there on our own.
No.
But God willing, we'll all get there. So we're going to keep it real and raw and have some fun. I have a tendency to not have a difficulty talking.
Amen.
Because God has put so much inside of me and I just want to get it out. And sometimes I tend to take some of Stephanie's, I just don't stop. We're going to be learning together.
I was going to say, you're learning. You're doing better.
I am doing better. Like for the last 3 days, I have been doing better.
More than 3 days.
More than 3 days. Okay, 3.5. But we're going to meet with some amazing women. And we're going to be diving into these topics of health and vitality and longevity, women from all walks of life, and women who absolutely have a story to tell. And you need to hear that story. And that's what this community is all about, right, babe?
Amen.
We are excited to introduce you to one of these powerful, amazing women who has a story to tell and experiences to tell. And it was my bright idea, actually, to reach out to this woman. We want to bring her on stage right now. Ba-da-ba. And there she is. When I said, we've been talking about this, again, one day for a while. Mm-hmm. And I've had some great ideas. We have people we are already, moving forward to and talking about interviewing in this amazing podcast, this movement. But when I said, I know who needs to be the first woman on this podcast, it needs to be you. Mm-hmm. What were you thinking?
Wait, me?
Yeah, you.
I thought we were just going to jump in and interview all these other amazing women. And so I think I was taken back by how excited you were to interview me. It made me start thinking about, whoa, what in my life does he want to share with other people?
I'm pretty open. Sometimes I might share too much, but I really feel strongly about this work that we're doing, professionally in our mainline business, in our ministry, as we seek to bless people in our ministry, in the business world, in our ministry, and we're going to get to Africa.
Yay.
But I have a heart for women, Oh, I have a heart for you, babe. You have to understand context, right? You have to understand context. You just can't take everything, you can't misinterpret that. Okay, stop, right? My mom was a single mom growing up. Most of the coworkers I worked with growing up, and a lot of the mentors I've had in the entrepreneurial field have been women. And then I met you, and my life changed again. And the mentorship and the coaching that you've given me and the strength. There are a lot of amazing women out there that you and I are teamed up to serve, to work with. As much as we might say mentor and coach, listen, we're all getting in the ground level, in the trenches.
Mm-hmm. Locking arms, rubbing shoulders.
Yeah.
Helping each other.
Yeah. So, but I couldn't think of anybody, honestly, that I would rather start this whole day one off than you, babe.
Thank you, honey.
And I know, and I think it's really important for our listeners and our community that as we jump into this, again, I'm already changing because I know that I'm going to be saying plenty of things. I want everybody to understand your perspective and your context. This doesn't happen without you. And so I'm so proud to be your husband, honestly.
Thanks.
And your business partner. So right now, wherever you are right now, do a little dance or like get some emotion or a fist pump or oh yeah, or whatever you do, just to kind of join us on this movement.
Eat some chocolate. That's what I would
do. All right, everybody eat some chocolate. And I'm one who can understand chocolate because, in fact, I think just a little funny story. So when we're dating, chocolate. Walk us through the chocolate thing because I enjoy good chocolate.
Oh, now Seth doesn't eat chocolate all the time, but when he does eat chocolate, he puts it away. But our second date, you brought some Haagen-Dazs. And it was just the two of us. And he brought like at least 6 bars or more.
It was a full box, six bars, yes.
2 boxes, honey.
Oh, was it 2
It
boxes?
was 2. I think they might have been a 4 count,
Okay.
4 or 6 count. So he, put probably 3 away that night. And then I think 1. He let me keep the rest, which, brownie points.
Chocolate points.
I think you were referring to the candy bar one.
I am. I had forgotten about the Haagen-Dazs.
Yeah. So he, one night when I was a single mom, he came to my house and I was putting my 2 kids to bed. I didn't have them meet him until I knew we were serious. That was a big deal to me. And so he brought some chocolate and he was waiting out in the truck. He was on a phone call and I hop in the truck and I'm just waiting for him. And he like whispers to me and like shows me this chocolate. Hey, honey, do you want some chocolate? And I was like, you know what? I'll probably have some later. And so he's like, okay. Well, he took that as liberty as I can eat all the chocolate tonight, right now. And he did.
Fortunately, in date number 2, I had chocolate points in the bank. So I was just going to make a withdrawal.
I don't know. You already made a withdrawal.
We might get to that story. So just so everybody understands, these, like, I don't typically mess around with the small bars, right? This was good chocolate. I don't remember what brand it was, but it was
definitely quality.
It was quality chocolate. It was like the bigger than king size. Like, it was big. I don't know.
I don't know about that.
All I remember is multiple bars and eating a lot of chocolate, and then you staring at me as you came back from tucking the kids in through the window. Like, I didn't know you were there, and I was just like enjoying eating this chocolate. That's how I remember it.
That is not what happened.
I think you were pretty much. Yeah.
I was already in the truck. I was trying to be quiet and just like, is he really eating my chocolate?
She said later. What does that mean? And what I found with you, honestly, babe, is like we'll buy chocolate. Or I'll buy chocolate. And I feel like, we share so many things, right? We often share meals. But I feel like my chocolate appetite, most of the time, is bigger than your chocolate appetite. And so sharing a king size bar.
I don't know about that.
So I always feel like, okay, if we buy one, then like we're splitting it half and half. I get that. Mm-hmm. But then I kind of feel like I have to buy an extra one for me. But then it's like, do we have to split the extra one? Because you tend to save things until they oxidize. Because you do a 1 square at a time, and I do 1 bar at a time.
Yeah.
So I'm still figuring that. We don't have it all figured out.
Some of it's because my body can't handle a ton at once anymore.
Yeah.
So, and I like to savor it. I like to enjoy it slowly. Whereas you're like, give me all the chocolate.
I love to savor it.
In that moment.
Quick, yes. I mean, very much in the moment. So anyway, I couldn't think of a better way. And I'm just excited for us to start this. And so I hope you are all excited. And I hope you will make a habit of maybe pulling out a chocolate bar. Like, kick off your shoes. Not if you're driving. But enjoy a chocolate bar and let's just talk. All right, Stephanie Mulder. Who is Stephanie Mulder?
That's a big question. I mean, I'm going to be 40 tomorrow. So that's a lot. Can you get more specific?
Sure.
I'm a detail-oriented person, so.
You are. One of the first things, well, this has nothing to do with details, but you telling me who you are, I remember when we met 9 years ago this year, right? And you're like, hi, I'm Stephanie, and I like bold colors. I was like, whoa, I'm in for something here. So thanks for telling me where you are. Mm-hmm. So tell us, Stephanie, a little about maybe where you came from. Youth, childhood, where you grew up, kind of a thing, family.
I was born and pretty much raised in Arizona. Sometimes I refer to it as hell. Because it is very hot there. I am the third of 7 daughters, no brothers. Yeah. Think of all the emotions and hormones that come with that. Even when how old was I? It was before I was 12 for sure. We lived in, I believe it was 900 square feet. Luckily, it was on the property of my grandparents, so we could run around. Otherwise, we all probably would have died.
900 square foot home.
Yes, with 9 of us. My youngest sister was just born recently before that.
That's old school. That's doing it old school. Nice job.
Yeah. Frequently would, I don't know if I should share this. Frequently would hear my dad be like, oh, because he'd find hairs that you probably shouldn't find, long hairs. I can't believe I'm sharing that. With that many girls, 8 of us, there's a lot of hairs and hormones going on everywhere.
And that actually, that I appreciate you brainstorming, baby. Maybe we're going to call this podcast Hairs and Hormones. If you like that, just, I don't know, send us a comment.
Oh my goodness.
So six sisters?
Yes.
So you're number, and where do you fit in?
Number 3.
What were you like when you were growing up? Man, I wish I was like that little Dennis the Menace kid. Well, not really. I don't want to ruin it, but I wish I could have. I guess maybe someday in the next part of our existence in life, I'll get to look back at all the heavenly videotape, right, of all those things that you did. But
we could ask your mom. Maybe you were like Dennis the Menace. What I like to call a tom girl. I loved,
is tomboy or tom girl?
Tom girl.
Okay, I don't even know. Yeah.
Tom girl is more of somebody who likes to do things that are typically labeled for boys.
Okay.
Being outside, outdoorsy, not afraid of dirt or hard work, enjoying all those fun things. But also, I enjoy getting dressed up here and there, or doing girl things too. So tomboy just seemed a little too boy for me. So
Okay.
tom girl is that healthy balance.
I'm putting that in my lexicon. I didn't realize the difference. So glad to know. Thank you.
It's actually a made up word that I heard from my Aunt Kim, my mom's sister. And I was like, oh my goodness, you nailed it. I love it. That's me. So shout out to her. Yeah. So I love just exploring outside, being in nature. I loved, getting dirty, just having fun outside.
What do you remember about your, I don't know, schooling? Like school's a big subject for people. Well, let's call it education, because there's different ways that people school. I think education, whether you're homeschooled or or charter school or private school or Catholic school or church school, whatever.
Yeah.
But what was your education like?
So my education, I as far as my childhood, I honestly don't remember a ton. I do remember some things here and there. So I do remember that my parents were really big into education. It was very important to them. It wasn't, what's the closest school? Is it good enough for my children? It was, where are the best schools? A lot of times we would need to drive 20, 30 minutes each way just to go there. And a lot of people thought we were crazy because there were plenty of schools between our home and where we were receiving our education. My parents were also not afraid to pull us out of that school and send us to another school if it wasn't meeting our needs or giving us the education that they felt was appropriate. I came from very patriotic parents, God, family, country. That was a common theme between all the schools. And it's honestly a part of who I am now. I have a great love for this country.
You are we can call it patriotic, right? Sometimes there's a lot of, I don't know, that's kind of a hot topic, right? And people have a certain construct. What is patriotism? Is it just flag waving or whatever? But yeah, you definitely love your country and the principles.
Yeah.
I think
Principles. I love, just the whole foundation of the country, and I have a lot of respect, appreciate, and admire those who have given so much to keep our lands free. Yeah, thank you for your service.
We have family members. We have a son in the armed forces, in the military, and that's his career. And I remember as you and I were getting to know each other, you made it a point when you see people who've made contribution, particularly in the military, 85-year-old man or whatever, wearing his, U.S. Marine Corps hat or Vietnam vet hat or whatever, right? That what do you usually do? Like,
I try to approach them gently, because a lot of them actually, if you come up to them too fast, it can startle them. I've learned that. And sometimes I'll extend my hand and I'll just say, thank you. I look in their eyes, and my granddad taught me that, to give respect, to look them in the eyes and say, thank you for your service. I've also had a lot of great conversations with those gentlemen because they were taken back by my gratitude.
Just a little moment of silence. That's awesome. Anybody, there's so many relationships when you're growing up, you know that if you ask me who's somebody from your past in your family, potentially, that's made a great impact, you know who I'm going to say.
Oh, yes. Grandpa Hust.
Yeah, my grandparents and my granddad. And again, there's so many people. Where do you stop?
You don't.
Oh, that's right. So I have this tremendous, respect and love and gratitude for those relationships. And when I get to the other side, those are, I hope that they're waiting for me there. Mm. What about you? Who is somebody, let's just say somebody passed. Well, I don't know. Who's somebody that's deceased that has made a huge impact in your life that you can't wait to see on the other side? We'll just dive right into one of these really spiritual questions. So.
I would probably say my grandparents. I still have one grandmother who is alive, and I have always loved and adored her, Grandma Peggy. I know you said deceased, but I thought I'd throw that out there too. In fact,
remember the whole rebel thing, doing thing your own way. Yeah. That's good. This is your podcast.
It's ours. So she's definitely somebody who has always made an impact my whole life. In fact, when I was young and married, at one time we went to her house and she's like, "Oh, Stephanie, I found this picture and I want you to see it. It reminded me of you." So we pulled it out and I was dumbfounded how much it looked like it was me in my youth. And I was so excited to age, hopefully gracefully, but to be as beautiful as she is. I was really excited about that. She's always been someone who is super fun. She loves to laugh. She loves her chocolate or her goodies. She loves people. She has a big heart. Her home is always open to others. And she is frequently found, cooking or serving or doing something for others. And that's made a big impact on who I am.
I feel like are we talking about your grandma? Or are we talking about you? Like this is like check the boxes.
Yeah. It's been passed down to my mom who was just like that too. And now to me. Hope to pass that on to our children.
Just a really quick jumping back to education. How did you do in school?
I was horrible at school. I hated school. In fact, when you just brought it up, I'm like, really? We're going to go there? I didn't like it. I wasn't very good. I've never been diagnosed with anything, but, I've been told that maybe I have ADHD or ADD or learning disabilities. And a part of me, the rebel in me, is like, no.
That's a big part, actually.
No. Pushing it off. And you know what? As I've gotten older, it doesn't really matter because I am who I am and I love who I am. I'm becoming more of who I want to be. And so for me, it's like, I'm not going to give myself a label. I'm just going to keep trying to learn and grow and become a better version of me. So
you also had some pretty tremendous challenges, in like middle school? Mm-hmm. You got the education thing and then you have a health?
Yes.
A health crisis.
I did have some health issues. So looking back from what I can remember is just specifically in like a moment was we were on vacation. I was with my sisters and my parents. We had 2 different rooms and they were kind of down the hall from each other. And we were being cute little kids. Well, I thought we were being cute. And, just running back and forth, kind of playing tag and whatnot and trying to go in a room and shut the door before they could get you. And I just remember doing that, like running as fast as I could and shutting the door. And all of a sudden I could tell I was going to black out. And so I was like, I told myself to drop to the ground before I fell over. And it just lasted for a second or two. And that became really concerning to my parents, obviously, and just some other health things. And so we were just trying to figure out what was going on. I had some fatigue and pain and lack of motivation and different things. And we ended up going to several different doctors, asking lots of questions, doing blood work, getting, I think it was an MRI done. And during that, they actually found a benign cyst behind my left eye in the left lobe of my brain. That was kind of scary because we weren't sure if it was cancerous or not for a while. And
you're in 8th grade at this point, so you're...
Yes, I was 8th grade.
12, 13?
I believe it was 7th or 8th.
13, 14, okay.
I was probably a little older. I actually was held back in 2nd grade, and so I'm older in my class.
Because you wanted to play. There's more chocolate. There's more chocolate for 2nd graders than 3rd graders. We all know that.
Probably. I actually wasn't a huge chocolate lover then, so
Okay.
it was probably candy. We just kept, doing different things. And back then it was actually very uncommon, but I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, Epstein-Barr virus. And so we asked the doctors, what can I do? What can I do to help come away from this? Because I started sleeping for hours a day. For example, in 8th grade, I would go to school and I would come home and I would sleep for, a few hours or so. I would eat some dinner and then I was exhausted again, would go back to sleep, to the point where I couldn't really get my studies done very much and almost flunked 8th grade. By the grace of God and some good friends and teachers, I passed. But it was very difficult, not having the energy that I needed, having extreme pain, in my muscles all the way down to my bones. The doctors, they essentially said, no, there's not much you can do. Just, go live your best life. And I'm like, wait, what? At least from what I remember, I was very surprised. So they said, you might want to get scanned again, for the benign cyst in your brain. But other than that, just not much we can do for you.
So how long did this, what was that like? Do you remember any of the emotions?
I don't remember a ton. I do remember being frustrated and sad. And it was really disappointing to hear, I'm this 8th grader and these medical professionals, you think they know everything. You expect them to help you. And, I finally got a diagnosis, which was fabulous. It's a great start, but it felt more like an end than it was a start.
And there was no treatment then?
No, they didn't have any treatment, except for the normal, be healthy, eat well, exercise, get rest. I was doing that.
So what happened? Where did you go from there?
I just was me, didn't really do anything for years and years. Try to be a kid, enjoy life, be positive,
Did the symptoms change over time or?
Several years later, it went into remission, but that was like in young adulthood. I mean, it was there. It might have ebbed and flowed how bad, but yeah, it was difficult.
Something you still live with today?
Yes, I do. With Epstein-Barr virus, as far as I have come to find out, through studies or talking to doctors or other people, that it can go into dormancy and it can come out of dormancy. And so, yeah, I've been working on that.
So let's talk about 18.
Okay.
You get married.
Yes.
Just kind of take us to that, point in your life. And
okay.
I want to talk about motherhood, but
okay.
But you get married at 18 and
yeah. So I got married too young.
Why do you say that? Why do you say that?
Just because I didn't really have the knowledge and experience to pick the best suitor for me. I definitely at that time, I thought I was making the right decision. I don't necessarily regret it because it's part of who I am.
Yeah.
But it definitely came with some big obstacles and difficult things to go through. However, I grew through those too. So yeah, I was 2 weeks before my 19th birthday and got married, was happy. We actually, without going into too many details, but we actually ended up having issues on our honeymoon. Actually, I'm sorry, even before that, the day of our wedding, we had some issues and I was like, what? But being young and, naive, didn't really think much more beyond that moment and not really recognizing how it could also kind of predict my future. And then we had issues on our honeymoon too that were very difficult. Nobody wants to fight on their honeymoon.
Yeah.
It should be a time of joy and foundation.
Wait, are we talking about you or are we talking about me? Surprise, surprise.
Yeah. So,
but I mean, even saying that, you and I have been married almost 9 years this year, and marriage is challenging, right?
Yes, it's hard.
It's not like, you and I haven't had our issues. I mean,
to that degree, no.
No, that's true. That's true. But understanding that, hey, just because you have issues doesn't mean that necessarily something's wrong or something's wrong with you or something's wrong with the relationship.
No. And anybody who says that they don't have issues or somebody else doesn't have issues, they're lying or they don't recognize it, because every single marriage is going to have some type of stuff to go through and to grow through, to help each other and to help connect you. So it's a part of marriage.
Sometimes I think about our marriage and just how I feel it's an amazing blessing. It is just an amazing, amazing relationship. And every once in a while, you'll remind me about, yeah, remember when we had this issue? And I'm like, that sucked. It's like, I didn't do that. No, I wouldn't have said that. And I mean, I haven't been crazy, bad, stupid.
Yeah.
Just
we wouldn't be married if you were.
Normal, bad, stupid, right? Just the ups and downs
Being
and the things
human.
you do. And
Yes.
and your, past life, we'll probably get into remarriage and whatnot in a bit. But I don't know. I think about how we all have these challenges. We can overcome them. And I just laugh sometimes to think, did I really do that? Did you really do that?
Yeah. You definitely could put me in that category too.
Did you always want to be a mom?
Absolutely. I had a few dreams since childhood that I do remember since I was very young. One was to be a model.
Hey, baby.
Looking at the industry, I am so glad I did not do that. And the other one was to be a mother and a wife and, to serve them and to serve God in that way. And I always wanted a big family, and I was so excited to be a mother.
So you get married and you become a mother?
Yes. A few months before I turned 21, I had my first child.
So you're married for 3 years? Nearly. No, 2 years.
About 2.
2 years. Okay.
Yeah.
You become a mom.
Yes. I'm one of those odd women that love being pregnant. Like, I absolutely love it. And so just that feeling of creating a human being from scratch in your body, and, you're just giving life. And that baby is going to be a part of your life forever. You just have that connection. And the more I learn actually about the process of pregnancy, the more I love it. And I just am in awe of it all and what our bodies are created to do.
Okay. Speaking about this intense, if you will, this focused love of pregnancy and the creation process, you actually have interest in participating in that, like professionally, right? You want to?
Oh, yes. After experiencing it myself, and the more I learned about the body, how amazing it is, and just the joy that I get from being pregnant and seeing other women, especially those close to me that are pregnant, and just watching, their bellies grow and get to see and feel the babies kicking and just having that connection. For a good number of years now, I've wanted to either be a labor and delivery nurse or a midwife. I've leaned more towards midwifery, or even possibly just being a doula at first.
A do what?
A doula.
A doula. I'm sure a lot of women know that. No, I don't think you're saying it wrong. Like, I'm the man here in the conversation. I'm like, what? Right? And I've heard you say doula before.
Yeah.
But maybe not everybody might not know what a doula is.
So a doula, I've actually never had one because my labors are so fast that I've been told I don't need one. But they're there to help take care of you during your labor and delivery. And they actually have postpartum doulas now too that can help you transition with that baby and just your body, helping you to heal. So the one during labor and delivery is there to support you. They have different techniques that they can help you with to help ease the pain or discomfort while you're in labor. They also are an advocate for you. Say you're in the hospital, because you can have a doula at home birth, in a midwifery clinic or at the hospital, and they are there to advocate for you. So they get to know kind of what your wants are for your pregnant or your delivery plan. They just help assist you.
You've experienced hospital births. You've experienced home birth. Yep. Spoiler alert, we're going to talk about home birth.
Yes.
And I don't want to move too fast into that. So you've experienced doctors and nurses and midwives.
Mm-hmm.
And again, spoiler alert, and maybe nobody being there, kind of. Not saying I'm a nobody.
Amen. Most important person there for me.
Thank you. why do you think I think you would be an absolute amazing midwife or doula. Why do you think you would be?
Wow, I've never been asked that. I feel like I have a huge heart and I'm an empath. And so I can connect with people really easily. And I just love people. I genuinely love people. And because of those two things, I can read people really well. I can read the energy in the room, which is super important during labor and delivery. You don't want bad labor because that can really affect the woman laboring. In fact, it can reverse it.
The environment and the energy going on. And
Yes.
interactions of people.
Exactly. Let's say there's somebody in there that you have conflict with, or previous conflict, and you're like, oh, do I want them in there or not? And you invite them in, and if they have a energy like that, it can set you back. There are all kinds of things that can set you back during labor, but I feel like I can bring a grounding presence, which can be really helpful. And I love serving people. I love, you can attest to this, to give massages.
Yes.
Yeah. And I love learning and growing. And I have that passion and fascination with the human body and birth and these beautiful spirits that are coming to earth.
I will attest to all of that for you. I mean, I am the witness here. You have an incredible way of connecting with people and reading people, things that I miss. You're like, oh, I'll have an observation about a situation or whatever. And you're like, oh, well, this is what was going on. I'm like, what? So that's definitely a talent of yours.
Sometimes that also just comes, I feel like women are a little naturally better at that too.
Yeah, probably on the average.
Yes.
Definitely on the average, yeah.
Yes.
And you love babies too. I mean,
I do love babies.
And I feel like you're the baby whisperer.
Thank you.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're talking to somebody. Oh, can I hold your baby? Yeah, I'd love it if you hold them, but just so you know, they're kind of cranky. And then they get to Stephanie's arms. It's like, and they're like, how did you do that? He doesn't do that for anybody. He doesn't even do that for his dad. You're like, I don't know.
They feel my love.
Yeah. So you become a mom at 21, and then you have another child a couple of years later. Mm-hmm. So you have a girl and a boy.
Correct.
How do you feel about that time in your life in motherhood, your experiences?
Honestly, because of the deep trauma that I was going through, I actually feel like becoming a mother saved my life. I don't really talk about that. It became really dark and hard, and I became very depressed. And the one thing that kept me going was I had a baby. Who's going to take care of my baby if I'm gone? Or, how would that impact my child's life? And I knew that I had to live for that child. So that's one thing. It was a joy to have children, to play with them, and to even the hard thing of feeding them, motherhood was a joy, but it was also very hard. And I know some of that stems from just being in a really bad marriage, not having the support that I needed, also being able to do my best and connect with them. And the biggest thing for me was to connect them with God and my Savior, Jesus Christ. And I knew if I did that everything would be okay.
So you're married at 18, almost 19, and going to take us to your mid-20s. You ended up going through a separation and ultimately a divorce. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So we went through a few separations, and just having that connection with God and realizing that the marriage was getting worse and it wasn't going to get better. And that stems from him not wanting to change and do the things that he needed to do for us to have a healthy marriage and family. And so I knew that it was time to leave. I believe I was 25 when I left, and I had two children, a 2.5 and 4.5. at the time. And it was very, very scary. But I knew that it was a better option than staying. And so I knew with God by my side that it would all work out. I didn't know how, but I knew it would.
But you said there were multiple separations. So this wasn't just things are really bad, right? We're not going to get a resolution. It takes two to tango. It takes two, truly takes two people to make a great marriage,
Yes,
right? Or
it
even a
does.
good marriage.
Yep.
And if one party, doesn't matter which one, but if one party is disconnected or unwilling, like you can't move, right? But you didn't make an initial, hey, this is bad, we're done. Sounds like there was like a transition period of what, months or a year or two?
Oh, it was years. I mean, we were only married 6.5 years, but it definitely was like, I don't necessarily remember when the first separation was, but like I said, we had issues from day one. So the span of the marriage, I think we had 6 or 7 separations. Anything from like a week or two. I think the most was like 2 or 3 months. And I just knew at those points that it was either separation or divorce because I couldn't live in the environment that was going on there. And change needed to happen. And I don't just jump into divorce. I don't, when people talk to me and want to counsel with me and try and get my perspective, from their marriages or what, I don't jump in and say you should get a divorce because I don't think that's the first option. So I knew that I had to give my all and then some. I had to give over 100%. And I had to know that it wasn't going to get better in order for me to leave.
So at 25, you're divorced, 2 kids.
I think I was 26 when the divorce was final.
Okay. What next?
Oh boy, single motherhood. It was very difficult, but it was also like I can look back on it with fondness. I definitely learned so much about myself, about motherhood, about what I wanted in a future spouse. And I don't say this to toot my own horn, but I went on a lot of first dates. People, are frequently asking me, "Oh, are you dating a lot or whatever?" And I'm, well, I go on a lot of first dates. I felt like God blessed me with intuition of, whether I should go out with a guy again, and I think some of that was just because I didn't have time, to mess around and find somebody. I knew there was someone out there, and anyways, God worked with me on that. And that was for about 5 years that I did that. And interestingly, like the guys that I was interested in, probably at least 95% of them were not interested in me. And the other 5%.
Yes, thank you.
The other 5% that were interested in me that didn't typically last very long, they became disinterested. And a few times I was too, but yeah, that's how it was for about 5 years.
You ever get concerned at, I mean, you're young, you're 26 years old, capable, healthy, you're a single mom. Did that ever become an issue when you were dating, being a single mom?
Well, I don't necessarily want to say that it was an issue because I was very forthright with that. When a guy was interested, I would tell him, "Hey, I've been divorced. I have 2 kids." And so to me, that was really important because I didn't want to waste my time or his time. I think there was one guy that I didn't, and that did not end well. I was like, well, I've had people tell me, "Well, why would you do that on the first date?" So I'm like, okay, I guess I'll try it out. And
not tell.
Yeah.
I mean, just not make it a point of conversation.
Yeah. And it just
Hi, my name's
didn't go
Stephanie
well.
and I have 2 kids.
Yeah, exactly.
Where do you want me to go from this?
I mean, it wasn't like right off the bat. It was into some conversation. But yeah. And honestly, I felt like I was lying on the first date with that guy. And like they're part of who I am, they're part of this package here. So yeah.
This is not a solo package. This
is
Mama and 1 and 2.
Yeah. Exclamation point.
Did you have people tell you you're too picky?
Yes, I did. I had at least one friend, close friend, and a few guys that they would like, oh, okay, I want to say, who can I set you up with? What do you want? And so I would tell them the things. Obviously, I did not think I was going to get all the things on the list, but there were a few deal breakers. And then I had other things that I'm like, you know what? These are things I'm interested in. All of them said, Stephanie, why don't you just settle? And I was like, excuse me? What did you just say? Did you just tell me to settle? Like, I'm not going to settle. Like, why didn't I just stay with my first husband if I was just going to settle? I knew that being single was better than settling for somebody who, wasn't going to be the best option out there for me.
I'm dying to know what was on the deal breaker list. Let's go into the archives. Can somebody bring that up? Can we get a visual of the list?
Goodness. Are you asking?
Yeah.
Me?
I'm asking that. I don't know how to put it in 2 question marks instead of 1. What was on the list?
Oh,
what was important to you? Like, this doesn't have to be important to everybody. This is your life. What was important to you?
Well, honestly, I can't. The list was kind of long, but the deal breaker part wasn't. But I'm trying to remember exactly what those were. I definitely, they had to share the same views religiously for me. That was very important. Had a good connection with God and Jesus. They had to be an incredible man that, I should say, would be an incredible father to my children. One thing that was on there that was not necessarily a deal breaker, but I honestly wasn't looking for a man with kids. I knew that the percentage of that or the outcome was probably going to be that I married a man with kids, but I wasn't necessarily looking for it. And I also wasn't looking for somebody and was hoping not to marry a man with several children. What else was on that list? Something that I was like, this isn't a deal breaker, but I would absolutely love was a man that dances. Country swing was my preferred method of dancing. Yeah, I made the list and then I worked really hard at being those things.
When you say you made the list, like, did you write this down?
I did. I wrote it down and kept it close by so that I could see it, because I'm like, if I expect these things, in a man, then I need to be able to work on them. And so I want them front and center. One
thing I learned, you and I've talked about this, is that, especially when you go through relationship changes, separation and divorce, I experienced that myself. You realize quickly, and when you get good coaching and good mentoring, they say, okay, the past is the past, but you look to the future, you got to change yourself, right?
Definitely.
So if you don't change yourself, if you don't change anything, you might be an amazing person, but if you don't change anything, then you actually might end up back in the same place.
Statistically, you will. You will, because there's a reason why you attracted that person and that they were attracted to you. And so if you're not willing to take an honest, humble look at yourself, you're going to still have those things there with you, and you're still going to be attracted to those things.
Absolutely. So the list, I want to see that list someday.
I don't know that I have it.
Really?
Yeah.
Don't need it anymore, I guess.
No. My list is right here.
I really like this conversation. So tell me, it's like a
tall, dark, and handsome.
Okay. What about the country boy cowboy thing? Was that on the list?
I don't remember if I wrote it down, but it definitely was something that I wanted. I mean, even to the point where like my mom knew I was, moving to Utah, and she's like, well, Stephanie, there's lots of cowboys in Logan, Utah. Maybe you should move up there. Yeah. So yes, it was definitely known beyond just me and God that it was something I wanted.
Since we all know the outcome of your single motherhood, right? We end up getting married. I mean, I like this conversation. So tell me, what were you looking for? It kind of reminds me of Disney's Aladdin, right? When Jafar is talking to Jasmine, and he's like, so let's talk about me. Anyway, so you're a single mom. You've been doing this thing by yourself. You're living with your parents.
Yes.
Right? I suppose they probably were a huge help.
Absolutely.
At that time. Support. But you decide that, hey, I'm not going to, or you decide, or I'm like, what happens 5 years into this?
Well, I think it actually stems further back than that, because I am interested in the medical field. My sister and her husband, he was going to school. I can't remember what for at the time. I believe it was the same trade school I ended up going to. And they encouraged me to look into being a medical assistant. And I bring that up because I didn't even end up using that degree or whatever you want to call it.
Officially,
yes. I definitely carried that knowledge with me, but I never got a job with that. But it's really important to me because it was something that gave me a lot of confidence that I didn't have before. And that leads into what happens next. So I went to medical assisting school. It's kind of funny too, because like we said, schooling was not my thing. That was one thing that made me really nervous. And I almost didn't sign up to go do the trade school because of it. But I looked into it and I got excited and I felt like it was right. So I'm like, okay, I'll just do this. So I go to school and at the beginning, they say, okay, there's a couple ways that you can earn, these special ropes for, to wear around your neck at graduation. So they said, well, there's, oh my goodness, what is it called? There's perfect attendance and the honor roll. And I was like, definitely not making the honor roll. So I'm going for perfect attendance because I want a special rope. And oddly enough, I should have seen this because I am a single mom at the time, but I did not get perfect attendance, but I did get the honor roll. So I had that special rope and I was very proud of it. And I think that's also part of what boosted my confidence in myself and what I'm capable of and what my future can hold.
Do you feel like many women have similar experiences and they don't necessarily understand or believe in what they're capable of?
Oh, 100%. 100%. I think maybe even as a society, women are made to believe that they're not as capable as they really are. And I think that's partly why we see a lot of women trying to fill men's roles. I do believe that there are some things in life that are more of a man's role and a woman's role. And we see a lot more women trying to step up and fill those shoes to prove themselves.
So you get you're on the honor roll and you graduate. What's next?
So soon after that, this could probably be a podcast in and of itself, this journey. So I need to figure out how to shorten that.
This is the first episode and continuing Stephanie's interview, episode 37. 37 episodes
Only 37?
later.
I'm just kidding. So I just started having these different thoughts about moving to Utah, and I had different friends within like a 24-hour period, maybe 48 at the most, who didn't even know each other. And they were all saying, well, why don't you move to Utah? And I'm like, what? Like the first several, I was like, what? No, like I'm here. Let me backstep and say that my ex-husband had moved to Oklahoma at that time. And so I had the majority of custody. So it definitely was a possibility now, whereas before it wasn't. And so it never even crossed my mind, even though he had been, out of the state at that point for, 6 months or so. And so I was like, after several people had said, I'm like, oh my goodness, like I could actually do this. Like I don't have anything keeping me here in Arizona. I don't have a job right now. I'm looking for a medical assisting job and wasn't having any success in it, which was so odd to me. And so after hearing it from so many people, I talked to my mom and was just like, hey mom, like this keeps coming up from several different people that don't even know each other. I don't know what's going on, but I'm wondering if I need to move to Utah. And she's like, well, sometimes that's how God works. He brings things up through other people. So I ended up praying about it. I didn't receive that answer right away. It was actually like a 6-month process to where it just kept getting stronger and stronger and stronger, the feeling of needing to be there. A super long story short, I decided to move to Utah and my parents were shocked. I felt like everybody else was cheering me on, saying, yeah, go, go. And I found out later they were actually terrified for me. But I didn't have any family in Utah. I didn't have a job. I literally had nothing. So my parents were very concerned, rightfully so, that I'd be moving a state away. They were hoping it'd be like down the street or something, not to another state. So I just finally said, you know what? It keeps getting stronger. I need to go. I would love your support, whatever that looks like, whether it's helping me move up there or just a big loving hug with a meal, to send me off with my children, and I'll pack all my stuff in my car and go. And they were like, all right, well, let's do this, and they helped me pack up and move. And my brother-in-law, Chris, did too. I reached out to a friend who was like, Stephanie, why don't you come live with me? Come live with my family, just till you get on your feet. So I said, all right. So we took off for Utah, went and lived with my friend, Jen.
Found a job.
I did. It was a horrible job. Horrible. I had never had anxiety before until that job. It was a call center. I don't recommend them. Yeah, about 3 months into that, I found a place to live that was affordable. I'd saved up some money after a few months, and I could put a small down payment on it. It was a triplex, had absolutely incredible family living in one of them that were the owners. They were a godsend. And we lived there. But before we moved there, that's when I met you.
What was it like being on your own? You'd been with your parents for 5 years.
Yeah.
As a single mom.
Yeah.
Which has its own challenges.
Oh yeah.
But you've got family and parents, which can be its own challenges. Right? But there's a lot of support.
Definitely.
Still there, right?
Yeah.
And then you're like, hey, I'm moving away. I need to do this. It's great to be with a friend. There's maybe a little support, but it's got its own challenges.
Yeah.
And then you're in your own little apartment, working. Kids are going to school. Like, what are the realities? Because I think every single parent, especially single mothers, I was a single father, right? I know I have some idea, but what was your experience? What was that like?
Living on my own, being a single mom?
Yeah.
A part of me absolutely loved it because it was my own home. Like I could have my own schedule. I could say or do whatever I wanted without worrying about anybody else in the home. I actually can look back and say, there were some things that made me nervous, like my kids would get home an hour before I would, and they were pretty young. Different things like that made me nervous and was a little stressful. I can definitely say that earning enough money was a huge stressor for me, putting food on the table. However, it was really good. It was like, hey, let's go on a walk. I don't have to check in with anybody or anything. We could just do our thing. We could make plans or we could cancel our plans or whatever. Like it was really good to be on my own.
Professionally, you and I work with a lot of women from all around the world. And one of the drivers, there are a lot of drivers for women getting into entrepreneurship. Yeah. But you talked about the stress of making enough money. Like how tight was that?
Oh, it was extremely tight. At the time, I was not receiving child support for quite some time before that. And, making, I think it was like $11.25 an hour, which those 25 cents counted,
Knowing you would knowing you'd find something at whatever store, Ross Dress for Less or the thrift store.
I was going to say DI.
The thrift store, right? And it'd be like a $27 item that you got for 25 cents. So I believe that you would make that 25. And then
stretched it.
And then you'd bring home like 25 of those things in grocery sacks.
Yeah, I like to reuse things like those grocery sacks. I could use them a lot of times.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing, I will say that was one of the biggest stressors for me as a single mother, having my children, ask if we could get ice cream. And I would have to say, oh, well, and I didn't want to put that burden on them. So I would try to word it in a way that wasn't necessarily, we can't afford this. It was more of, you know what, let's keep it special. Let's wait till your birthday. Let's have ice cream only on your birthday. That's 3 times a year, just for our birthdays. So
yeah. I think that's powerful too, though. It's a powerful mode of, you're not simply covering up that we don't have that's not in our budget, but focusing people on the positive, and I think we need to be careful about, we can't. Yes. Well, yeah, it's not in your budget right now, and that's okay. And there are probably other ways you could also have handled, hey, it's not in our budget now, but let's do this and this and this. In this case, hey, let's celebrate and make it special.
And, honestly, I probably did say it at some point, but I think for the most part, I tried focusing on it being a special thing and keeping it positive for them because they were young. I think even being a little older would be, I could present it in a different way with different maturity and not be a downer for them versus a little child. So yeah, I'm like, yeah, let's do cake and ice cream on your birthdays and we'll keep those, things special. And I remember specifically, and I talk about this a lot when people ask me about being a single mom. I remember one time taking my kids to the grocery store and I had a list of all the things that we needed and some of the things that I wanted. I can't remember if ice cream was on there. It might have been. Looking at my list and being so grateful that I had money in that moment to get everything on my list. And I cried and I told our children, I asked them, like, maybe we should say a prayer and thank Heavenly Father for blessing us, that we got everything on our list today. And so we did. We stopped immediately and thanked Him for blessing us. We also had a lot of people in our ministry that would bring fruits and vegetables. Hey, my garden had extra this. Can I give you some? Or my trees have extra fruit. Would you like to come pick some? So I know that also helped carry us through that hard time.
I think you're tremendous at being grateful. You have a real knack for, and maybe it's because I don't know why, maybe it's because when there's lack, but you see all those necessities, because I know if you're making $11.25 an hour right, and you're raising 2 kids and you're talking about, well, I got all the necessities and I got some of my wants. Those wants must have been pretty limited because there's only so much in a budget, for that. And I know I've always found that you're extremely grateful. And in fact, you were always talking about, oh, you're spoiled, I feel like I'm spoiled. I'm like, you're not spoiled if you're grateful.
Yeah. And I stopped saying that I'm spoiled. Did you notice that?
I have. You haven't said it in a while.
Because yes, I am grateful. And I agree. I think it does come from lack. Yeah. I mean, even when I was married previously, he was going to school and, I didn't get a job after a while. And so we lacked a lot in our home in my first marriage too. So I've had plenty of lack in my life.
Even with all those blessings and the prayers, were you hungry? Were the kids hungry as a single mom?
Yes. So I don't believe the kids knew this. Well, they didn't know. I would make a meal and then they would ask for more sometimes. And so sometimes I was really hungry and I wanted to say there's not enough because I wanted some, but trying to be a good mom, I said, sure, yeah, absolutely. And I would feed them the rest of it. If I remember correctly, they would even ask, well, are you hungry? Are you good? I'm like, oh, I'm good. I'm good. I would go to bed with some pains in my stomach. Sometimes, yeah.
I don't want to say, did you do the right thing? I know you did it. And moms are doing this all the time. I'm not saying you shouldn't do that. Is there another way to handle that, do you think?
Oh, definitely. I think looking back, I definitely could have reached out for more help. Thankfully, that period that I went through, it wasn't super long. I had my ecclesiastical leader asking if I needed help. And I told him, no, I don't think I'm comfortable with that. And looking back, I should have said yes. And I should have embraced it with open arms and gratitude. I'm also grateful that, what I did go through taught me a lot.
You and I meet. You and I meet on the dance floor, by the way, right?
Yeah, baby.
Check that off the list. In fact, I remember seeing one of the things that I did after I went through, as I was going through separation and divorce, I got some great counsel with Seth. God wants Seth Mulder to be Seth Mulder, right? In other words, you have to be you. And sometimes when you go through traumatic relationships, you lose you, or you isn't accepted, or isn't protected. And it's up to you. One thing I learned, it's up to you to be you. You can't expect somebody else to be you for you, or to say what you is acceptable, right?
Yes.
If it's not acceptable, that maybe this is a no deal,
Yes.
right? So I started dancing again and started practicing with one of my daughter. I had 5 boys and a girl, and she loved to dance. And we started practicing again because I had kind of put dancing on the shelf for a decade and a half. And so I was going quite a bit. And I remember, and I knew a lot. I knew pretty much all of the girls there, at this one particular place, actually a couple of places that I went. And so when I saw you cross the dance floor halfway, by the way, it was not all the way, it was halfway across the dance floor. I know exactly where it was. I knew where I was. I knew where you were. Like, who's that pretty woman over there? And I was about to start singing Roy Orbison, Pretty Woman, right? And
that might have been a little creepy.
There's a lot of things that I might have done that could have been, and I did some of them. I don't think we're ever going to get into them in this podcast, but
like the beard.
Oh yeah. 3 months before that, I had a beard that made me look like an Arab man, 12 inches from my chin. It was pretty, I'm just saying it was good. It was,
okay.
what would have happened if I would have had the beard when we met?
I don't know that I would have gone out with you. It was kind of scary looking.
You would have.
No.
Oh, you would have.
Maybe after you shaved it and I saw you again, but I wouldn't probably even know that it was you.
I could have been 2 identities.
Yeah.
So I remember seeing you and asked you to dance and asked your name, and my name's Stephanie. I'm like, what a great name. I don't know. I'd never said that before, but it just was like, I like that name. And then we started dancing, and 7 seconds into this dance, because I did a lot of dancing, and I'd gotten pretty good. And when you start to partner with somebody on the dance floor, and there's just a mutual rhythm, it's an incredibly refreshing, wow feeling. There's an instant connection. And I couldn't help but blurting out, Stephanie, you can dance. And you're probably like, well, no, duh. Right? In fact, I wish all of our instruments weren't being used for recording right now, because like I would put on some music. Like, doesn't matter. It could be Latin music with a little salsa beat, with a little salsa rhythm. It could be some country, Florida Georgia Line or Tim McGraw, and
it would have to be something sassier than that.
Okay, because what would start happening is you would start shaking those hips, and I wish everybody could see. Like,
oh my goodness. Okay.
Anyway, so you and I date for 8 months. We get married 8 months to the day. And I didn't actually meet all the criteria necessarily, right? I mean, or some of your image.
You pretty much did.
I pretty much did, except I had kids.
You pretty much did the list.
And then some.
But I didn't, it wasn't a deal breaker.
True.
I prefer a man with no kids, but if he does, preferably a couple.
And I reminded Stephanie, I'm 39 with 6 kids.
Yeah.
And you said?
I'm open. Thinking it was probably going to be another, first date.
Another first date. So 8 months to the day later, we get married. We start integrating family. What was it like, just a message, a shout out to all of our women and men out there who are blending families.
Mm-hmm. Oh, God, that's a
podcast.
That's a podcast.
That's a lot of conversation. We don't have a lot of time to touch on it, but I think there are a lot of people who are in that situation, struggling with it. Some are triumphing, and we've had our ups and downs.
Yeah.
And ups.
Yeah.
But
I think for the most part, it's been a constant ebb and flow, up and down with the blending part. However, I do think the one thing that we have going for us that has made a tremendous difference compared to looking at other families or friends that I have that have tried blending families and stuff is that our marriage is rock solid. I know that if things are going wrong, amongst the children, whether it's with themselves or with us or, outside or whatnot, that we're going to be okay. We're actually going to come out stronger going through this. And I think that's a tremendous advantage that we have, and that more marriages, second, third marriages could benefit from that, making sure that the relationship is rock solid.
I think this was on your list. I know it was on my list. You know, it was part of it was a value.
Wait,
it was a
you had a
characteristic.
list?
I had a list. I don't know.
Did you write it
I don't
down?
know. I don't think I wrote it down. I probably should. I mean, I probably should have written it down because I'm always like, you got to write your goals down, right? You got to write your vision
I want to
down.
see this list.
You're look in the mirror, babe. But somebody who could love my children much as I love my children. And that's asking a lot.
For most people. I felt like we talked about, I have a huge heart and I connect with people really easily. And for me, it came naturally. And I think that was one big sign for me that I knew this was going in the right direction. And this could be really good and might be it, you know, was because I've dated other people that had children and I didn't necessarily connect with them like I did our children. When I, you know, would meet a few at a time, I felt like it was natural and that just instantly I felt like they were a part of my family.
And they felt that way about you too. I think that has been special. I think for other people, we often talk about yours, mine, and ours. We've had two beautiful little girls since we got married, and they've been a huge blessing. So that was 6 and 2 and 2. So we're at 10.
Yes.
Right.
And 2 incredible daughter-in-laws.
Absolutely.
And 5 amazing grandchildren.
Yes. And growing.
Yes.
But I think that your acceptance, you know, of listen, I'm not your mother. In this case, we didn't have death involved.
Yes.
And even if death was involved, I'm not here to replace your mother. She's not married to your father, right? But I'm here to be a friend and a support and
a motherly figure.
Yeah, a motherly figure. I mean, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we often will talk to other people so that they can understand, okay, yours, mine, ours, and a lot of family. And there's different ways to do this. Oh, your stepchildren. In fact, I had a buddy of mine say that today. Oh, so you've got 6 kids, and 2 stepkids, and that's acceptable. That's an acceptable way to put it. But we've always been, these are our children.
Yes.
For the most part.
Yes.
Right?
I think we've actually done an incredible job at that, making sure that the children all knew that it was one family, it was one home. Also not discounting the other home and family outside of our home, but that there's a level of respect. Well, they asked what they could call me, and I said, as long as it's respectful, I don't mind what you choose to call me. Could be Stephanie or, whatever you
Mama
like.
Steph or, another name,
Yeah. For a while, they called me mom. And I was like, okay, if that's what you're comfortable with, then that's fine. But yeah, I was open to whatever was comfortable for them. I will say also that I don't like to refer to children as my stepchildren. So if I do need to clarify something, people are asking, oh, well, which children are yours? And I keep saying, they're all mine. And they keep saying, I know, but which ones are yours? I'm like, but they're all mine. Then I will say either, well, 6 of them are my bonus children. Because I feel like step kind of has a negative feeling to it.
Maybe some separation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
whether that's meant or just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I prefer to call them my bonus children, or I'm their bonus mom, because I like to think that I'm a good addition to their life, just like I feel like they're a good addition to mine.
Bonus.
Yes.
And nobody likes a good bonus more than you. 6 children in grocery sacks. Right there.
Oh my goodness.
So much I'd love to talk about. What books are you reading right now? And are you a bookworm? Like, is that your jam?
So I actually am not a bookworm, but I do know that I can gain a lot from reading books. So this last year, I knew that I was going to be turning 40, and I was like, oh crap, I'm going to be old. Like, I was so not excited about this. And so I saw somebody that made a list for their 30th birthday, and while they were 29, and it was, a 30 by 30. So 30 things she wanted to complete by the time she turned 30.
Let me guess, you saw this on Pinterest.
No. I actually didn't. I know.
Survey
I know.
says.
No, so I decided like, oh my goodness, this is brilliant. This is something I can work towards, and it's like a longer term. It's not just like, hey, a few weeks or whatever. And so I made a list of 40 things that I wanted to complete before I turned 40. And one of them was, I'm like, you know what? I know I need to read more. I know I do. And so I decided I'm going to read 12 books, in the next year, which for me is astronomical. It really is. So I'm actually in the middle of 3 books right now to complete up to number 12.
But you got quite a bit of time before this.
No, it's tomorrow.
Your birthday's tomorrow.
Yes. So sadly, I will not complete the 40, but I have done over 30. I don't remember. What
And you've got nearly all in progress, or
a lot of them. Yeah. I've got a good chunk.
And you've done over 30, yeah.
I mean, there's some too. Like I wanted to go on 20 hikes, and I've done 17. I wanted to cook 40 new recipes, and I've done over 30 and different things. So I mean, I probably set the bar a little too high, but it's pushed me and made me grow, and helped me to do things that I normally wouldn't allow myself to do or spend money on or whatever, because I'm frugal. And it's helped me to also realize that it's okay to spend money, and it's an investment in myself. Some of those things I really love and I want to do more of. I've also realized that I am not pursuing my dreams or my goals like I should be. And so it's kind of opened up that path for me. So anyways, you were asking about the books that I'm reading.
Yeah, yes. I'll get to the books. So one of the things you said, and I absolutely love, I want to bring out is, I see this as an investment in myself. Mm. And it's wonderful to be frugal or to make wise use, right, of the talents and the things, the time, the talents, the resources, the money that you have. And I mean, me, it's like, I don't have a problem doing that.
This is true.
I want to enjoy life as well.
Yes.
But if we change the narrative to, is this something I want to invest in? Because if you're investing, then there's the expectation that after you invest, there's a return. Mm-hmm. Like an investment grows. It's something that's going to yield more than if it just sits there right now. You're not just spending money. Mm-hmm. Now, women all over the world are saying, "I'm just investing in my happiness." Right? Whatever's at Macy's or Saks Fifth Avenue or Chanel or Stephanie, the thrift store. She doesn't even say thrift store. She names our local thrift store, right? All 37 branches that they have. But just like for me personally, it's like, oh no, she's going to the thrift store. Like, how bad could it really be? It's actually not the monetary hit. It's the 43 bags that come back. Like, what are we going to do with this stuff?
Remember, I reused the grocery bags.
But she puts it all to good use. Mostly. So I love that concept, investing. You have to be willing. You want to change your life, you got to be willing to invest in yourself. Yes. And I think that's really come through in this episode today. And it's like time and time again in your life, this is going to be a decision to invest in myself. Right?
Yeah. And I will say that in some of those things, like I did with our children, or like you and I went and tried acro yoga. And
acrobatic yoga. I
was so excited that at the end, you were like, yeah, this is awesome. Let's do it again. And I'm like, oh, this is amazing. I'm so glad I put this on the list.
This was on the 40 by 40.
Yes, it was. So it was an investment in relationships as a whole, not just myself.
I'm going to tell you, acrobatic yoga. Like I'm getting a dopamine hit right now.
Just talking about it.
I'm serious.
Me too. I can feel it.
Yeah. Like I literally have chemical reaction going through my body right now. That was so fun and challenging and connecting. Yeah, acro yoga. Hold on, I just want to take this dopamine in right now. So back to the books. What 3 books? What are these final 3 books on your 40 by 40 list?
So these final 3 books, I have to remember the titles of them, to be honest. So one of them is called I Am a Mother, and it touches on essentially the importance of being a mother. And there's a small part that touches on how society as a whole doesn't appreciate motherhood like it used to or like it should. And it's really helped open my eyes to, I mean, a lot of the things that I've read, I've actually already heard or several times, honestly. But for some reason, it's hit me differently. It's really helped me to see just how important, moments are, or the investments into our children or into myself, like letting myself know that what I'm doing, I'm not just a mother. There's a section on it that talks about that. This woman was at a function and they were going around saying all their professions or the things that they've accomplished in their lives. And she was like, I was really disappointed to hear so many women say, I'm just a mom. And so she challenges you to change that, to boldly take that on as I am a mother, because mothers create the foundation of human beings.
Society.
As a whole. Yeah.
Life. I mean, guys have
Yes.
something to do with it. Like,
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. They can make or break a child, their experiences. So it just really helped to open my eyes and my heart to more in motherhood and how I can invest into motherhood and be proud of it. Be proud of it.
thanks for being an amazing mom to
Yeah.
our children.
Thanks, honey.
That's book number 1. Book number 2.
I'm really trying to remember. This is funny. I have them stacked together, and I guess the mother one is the one that's just sticking out. Oh, 21 Days Closer to Christ. They take different attributes and biblical stories along those, and they're typically 2 to like 5 or 6 pages, and then they have you read scriptures specific to those stories and ask questions for you to think about. So that one is really powerful. And the third one, I'm loving all of them, so I can't even believe that I can't remember it.
It's all right. There's a third one that you'll be up tonight, I'm sure, reading all 3 of these.
It's creating temple patterns in your home, I believe is what it is. So yeah, just talks about, the different patterns in your home, not just organization and cleanliness, but also the things that you do as a family or, things like that, goals, dreams, lots of different things and how they pertain to the beautiful temples that we have.
Temples, houses of the Lord, worship places.
Yes.
Awesome. Wow, powerful. This is a bigger discussion, but can you just tell us a little about an experience you had really recently? 'Cause I know you have a heart for people. We talked about this massive heart. And I think one thing, and I truly believe this, as we work with entrepreneurs to create prosperity and success financially, what are you doing today? The template that you're living today, even if you're not where you want to be, is probably the template you're going to be living tomorrow. It's just going to be expanded potentially. But for example, if you're not taking time out of your schedule today to serve people, even if you have a lot of lack or scarcity, like that's who you are, that's what you do. And we need to strive for that. I think sometimes we think, as soon as I make money, then I'm going to give more money.
Yes.
As soon as I have more time, then I'm going to give more time.
Mm-hmm.
And
which is true. I mean, if you do have those, then you have a broader range to use those resources.
yes. But if you're not, if you don't make very much right now, if you're really truly going to bed hungry,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, there's always somebody who's worse off than you.
Mm-hmm.
Usually there's a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
If it's so critical, I think, that you make it an absolute characteristic and habit that even if I have lack, I know that there's something I can still give.
Absolutely.
Because if you wait to give until you have more,
Mm-hmm.
even if you can only give this much, the whole Bible story of the widow's mite,
Mm-hmm.
right? Christ talks about she gave more than all. Well, she didn't give more than all, like on an accounting basis,
Yeah.
on a spiritual accounting basis. If she would have had $1 million, she would have been given a whole big chunk,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
They from their abundance gave, she from her lack gave. So anyway, I guess I think it's really important that we create these patterns. And even if our budget is small, there's part of that budget's earmarked for giving money, buying meals, making bread, giving time, so that when you have more, those actually expand. It's not like they're poof, now I'm giving because I became successful. It usually doesn't happen that way.
No.
So
and you get far more in return when you do give, whether you have a great lack or a small lack.
Yeah.
I feel like, you can give time. As a single mom, I would frequently babysit my nieces and nephews or other people that I knew needed support and help, because I knew that it was important to me to help love and help others.
So let's talk about a little your giving, and then we'll probably wrap up.
Okay.
Day one.
Yeah. So Africa, oh my goodness. I seriously could do a whole podcast on this, and maybe we should with Tish.
Oh yeah. From Hearts and Hands.
Yes. So I went with an organization called Hearts and Hands. We flew over to Africa and did so much good. I mean, I called you, FaceTimed you a few days in, and you're like, Stephanie, you're glowing. I'm like, how can I not be? Like, pinch me. I'm in Africa serving all these beautiful people. We got to take sandwiches to orphanages and play with the kids there. And speaking of lack, they get maybe one meal a day. And they were so excited to see us, and they knew we had food. And we spread the peanut butter on really thin. And I was thinking, oh my goodness, are we being stingy? I will buy more peanut butter. Are you kidding me? Like, all that frugality goes out the window. And they're like, no, Stephanie, it's because their bodies can't handle more than this. Peanut butter is kind of a luxury anyways there. And yeah, their bodies can't handle more than that. So it was just so wonderful we brought lots of donated homemade toys, dolls, bears, wood cars. We brought ring pops and suckers, which most of them didn't even know how to open because they don't have those things. They have them at the convenience store there, but how many of them have money to even get to the convenience store or to spend their money on that? They've got to use it for food if they have it. So we had to open the wrappers for it and give it to them. And a couple of the kids, we didn't, and they started eating the wrapper because they thought that was part of the candy. We got to teach high school girls about their bodies, about menstruation and how beautiful their bodies are and how it's their friend and how God loves them. God loves them. And we taught the boys, the male volunteers taught the boys about how to be a gentleman, how to take care of women and girls, and how to serve and look out for that, protect them, how to be a protector. So important over there. We did also get to go on a safari, which was super, super cool. And they took us to Waterfall and the Chugga Caves. So did some history, had some local Swahili food. So it was a very well-rounded trip. But I will tell you, the heart of it was going and serving and playing with these children, blowing bubbles and them lighting up, or, oh my goodness, the orphanage that I went to, and we brought some sandwiches again, and we brought a few donated toys, and they were wiffle balls, and we started throwing them to a couple of the kids, and one girl in particular, like all the other kids went and played with other toys after a while, and this girl, she was probably 9 or 10, I want to say. I'm really bad at guessing ages, so I could be totally off, but she did not want to stop throwing that ball, even when it came with me, even when it came down to them coming out and saying, hey, we've got food, come get the food. And mind you, they typically have one meal a day. And she's like, no, I'm good. I'm throwing this ball. And so they were like, oh, okay, a little kid. And the kid came back out, you need to come get some food. And so she's like, okay, I'll be right back. So she went inside, grabbed her sandwich, came back out and put it on the windowsill and kept throwing that ball. She did not want to stop to eat because it meant so much to her. And that continued until we left. She absolutely wanted to throw until I got on that bus to leave. And whatever we brought for her to eat, little treats and what, she set it on the side. And that just throwing that ball made a huge impact, because at that orphanage in particular, they have over 30 kids there, and there's one woman and her 16-year-old daughter running it. So they don't have that connection, that affection that I was able to give her.
future podcast episode. We'll be meeting with the individuals who organize this. There's so many great, charities and organizations. You and I've been to Mexico with our partner companies and charity organizations to build houses. And again, you got to make time now, right? However small. If you have 1 minute extra today to do for somebody else, put that in your time budget. It'll change somebody else's life. And guess what? It'll change yours too. What's your next step with Africa?
Oh man, there's so much to do there. I would love to get a team of people to go build a house. So one of the things that they do over there is they drill for wells, water wells, because the clean water there is very scarce. And when they do get water, they have to walk and travel miles every day to get it. And it's actually very dangerous for the women and children that do that.
Why is that?
I think the biggest thing that is dangerous is, I'm trying to figure out how to say this, just the abuse that happens there. Rape is very frequent, and it's a part of many of their lives. And so to build a well that is in their community, it supports schools. It supports, there's one that they've built that they also put a soccer field on there. And so that keeps kids out of trouble. All these young men and young women that can come and play soccer and have tournaments there. It gives them something to do, something to live for. And, but it helps them, hundreds of them to come together, and they can use this well to drink. The water that they drink is oftentimes looks like poopy water. It's very dark. A lot of them actually get diseases from it and die from it. So clean water, it's a source of life, and they don't have it there. So that's a big thing that they do. So it was really neat to be able to go and throw down the first pipe, because they have a drill team that does it by hand. And they crank this wheel and to help throw down that first pipe, and to know that it's going to make a difference in hundreds of lives.
And that's a great place to end. Thank Stephanie. This is weird. You're actually the host of this podcast, but this has been, who is the host? Who's the woman behind the microphone? So thanks for sharing your heart with us. This has actually been tremendous.
Thank you. I really appreciate you coming up with this and pushing me out of my comfort zone.
It's day one.
And you know what? After doing this, I'm a little excited.
Awesome. So we'll be back with you for more episodes, incredible experiences and stories from our lives, but importantly from incredible, talented, tenacious women from around the world.
I'm looking forward to that.
And cut. It's a wrap.
Thank you so much for being here today. And thank you for sharing this episode with that one friend who needs this conversation. Thank you for all the ratings, the reviews, the comments, and especially the support. We so appreciate you.
Now, if you want to take a peek behind the curtain and be the first to know about special previews, backstage updates here at the show, and especially some private collection content that doesn't come out in the regular show,
be sure to join our VIP community at theforeveryoungshow.com.